Hello, welcome back. It is Jack Mack, High Top Sports Georgia, and it looks like we got a rivalry again, boys and girls. Georgia Tech heads into Athens on Friday night, takes us to the brink, 8 overtimes, thrilling game, everyone on the edge of their seats. But hey, we came out with the victory. Going to get into why I believe it was as close as it was. I know a lot of people were surprised around the country. I was too about the score, but wasn't surprised that Georgia Tech came ready to play. I mean, they played a very close game against us last year. Again, just wanted to start off the show with Brent Key, got the boys ready to go, and expect big things from them in the future. I mean, if they're able to do that to us, they should be able to dominate the ACC very shortly, as they imploded on themselves with Miami losing. But heck of a game Friday night, and we'll start there. I mean, a little bit different. Georgia playing Georgia Tech on a Friday night. Georgia Tech last game was last Thursday. So, they had a full week and some to get ready for this game. Georgia, short week with the game on Saturday. Again, weird time. First time it's been on a Friday night. Georgia looked like it affected them. They came out so slow, so sluggish, as we've seen them do many times against inferior opponents. Think back just last week. Let UMass hang 21 on them, and they were in the game in that first half. This was a lot worse, as Georgia Tech dominated that first half. I mean, dominated the line of scrimmage. Haynes King looked like Cam Newton out there against us. It was sad to watch. Georgia's season looks like it was slipping through our fingertips there for a while. I'm sure, excuse me, all Georgia fans were like me doing the math, like, oh, got to win next week. And as the game got on, like, well, if we play like this, we have no shot to win next week, no matter who wins, Texas A&M. But we came out in the second half. Offensively, still some issues with drops. This game would have been a lot closer, probably would have won in regulation if we would have had some caught footballs there in the first half with Arian Smith, even Dominique Lovett with that first throw in the second half. That didn't help us. But we did what we needed to do. That's what good football teams do. We keep it close. We got it to the fourth quarter, and we made a play. Dan Jackson, senior, stepping up, filling the hole, smacking Haynes King with that fumble. I mean, that is a season-defining moment. And Georgia taking Georgia Tech, or Georgia Tech taking Georgia to an 8 overtime game on paper, that doesn't look good. Georgia, what's wrong with Georgia? But a win is a win. And these experiences, these games, just like losing to Alabama, now that we're in the dance, all of these things are only going to help Georgia. Hey, if we're in an overtime game in the playoff, 2-point plays, we got some experience. Not many other teams, no other teams in the playoff, I don't think, is going to have the experience that we have in that regard. So coming out with the win is everything. Haven't lost a home game in 30 games. Didn't want those seniors to lose their last one. And you could tell, I mean, like I just said, Dan Jackson, the play a game in the hole on that 3rd and 1. That was kind of the story is seniors took over. Carson Beck, 5 touchdowns in the second half. That guy is an enigma. I cannot understand.
Of course, this show is brought to you by BetUS. And when you use the code YouTube150 at betus.com on your first deposit, you get back 150%, up to $2,000. Now, you can gamble on NFL, college football, basketball, baseball. The World Series are coming up. We got college football at an all-time high. Heisman winners are going back and forth. Who's going to win the SEC? Who's going to win the Big 12? All kinds of things. You can literally gamble on anything you set your pretty little mind to. And on your second and third deposit, you get back 125%, up to $2,000. So be sure to go check out betus.com. Use the code YouTube150 to take advantage of these offers while they still last. Now back to the show.
Understand how up and down he is. And I am able to see more that throughout the season, it's been less about Carson Beck. Yeah, he hasn't played great at all times in the season, but his receivers have not helped him really much at all. Very consistent stretches. They may have had a good game here and there, but consistently they're dropping balls every 4 or 5 passes. So looking back on it, the Carson Beck hate may have been a little much. I will say it. Carson Beck's playing good right now, and right now is when we want to play good, headed in the postseason. With the SEC championship game next week, but the drops concern me offensively. I don't know how we fix it at this point in the season. It looks like it's not gotten any better. Arian Smith with that one in the 3rd, 4th overtime. I don't know. It was tipped, hit him right in the hands. You can just see it on his face. He just looked defeated with all the balls that were dropped. So let's get some confidence going in the building this week. Look, we beat Texas. It should be all smiles. We won every home game this year. We beat all our rivals. We beat all those teams in orange. Beat Georgia Tech. Everything's great. Alabama's out. So new season starts today. Hopefully we can get that message across to these wide receivers just to get some confidence going again. But, I touched on the game times on this game being close, the slow starts, Georgia, just for whatever reason, not being able to punch teams in the mouth early, especially teams where you expect Georgia to say, all right, we've had our test this year. Let's show the country who we are and take care of these inferior teams. Again, Georgia Tech is an inferior team, but they're a good football team with a great quarterback, and it's a rivalry game. They were ready to play this game. And I'll take it a step further. Brent Key, when he got to Georgia Tech, first thing he said, not winning the ACC, we need to beat Georgia. We need to win this state. And everyone laughed at him at the beginning, but hey, he took us to the brink at Georgia Tech in Atlanta last year. And what did he do? He gets Buster Faulkner, OC, who called a heck of a game. He was one step ahead of Kirby the entire time until we started calling those timeouts in overtime. But what was Buster Faulkner doing a couple years ago when we were winning natties? He was a QB coach, quality control analyst. So nobody knows Georgia's scheme as well as Buster Faulkner. And you could tell he was one step ahead the whole way with what Kirby was trying to do defensively. He called a heck of a game with, Georgia Tech has went away from the triple option, but it's still, the read option quarterback runs a lot. They played it to perfection. Georgia you could see they were off balance the entire game. And every time we loaded the box, they would have a perfect pass play for Singleton or someone out of the backfield. Haynes, we could not bring that guy down. So Buster Faulkner called a great game. And I would not be disappointed with his performance there if we get him back in the building here shortly. Who knows? As an OC, if Bobo doesn't prove himself in this postseason, I don't know. But he impressed me a lot, and I do not want him at Georgia Tech for these games going forward. So you can tell Georgia Tech's their MO is to beat Georgia, and I respect that. We need that rivalry back. Growing up, that was everything. 2008, when Georgia Tech was really good. Those games were everything. So we got the win a lot closer than I like, but it's good to get those in-state rivalry juices going again. And Georgia Tech, like I said, and I'm going to stress it one more time, their MO is not to win the ACC. Their MO is to beat Georgia. That's a winning season for them. They don't have lofty, unrealistic expectations to win a natty, but they know they can ruin Georgia's season every so often. And that's their MO, and that's what rivalries is all about. There's usually one team that's better nationally, but when they play on Saturday, it doesn't matter. And it was clean old-fashioned hate. Now, it is Sunday, and yesterday was a hate-filled rivalry with planted flags, all this good stuff, fights on the field. I just wanted to take a moment to appreciate the tradition of Georgia. You never see Georgia doing any of that nonsense. We whoop them, BTA, belt to ass, and we get off the field. No one's causing a ruckus after Georgia hands it to them. So yeah, we handled it with class. Now Georgia Tech would have won that game. Who knows what would have happened? But we don't let it get there. Georgia, we take care of our rivalries. We don't let it get to that point. We see Florida State having their little scuffles there. Ohio State, Michigan, that was awesome. How Klatt was calling that fight after. Oh, Michigan, man, you probably shouldn't bring that flag over the Ohio State sideline. Oh, and they're taking the flag down. That was awesome. That was awesome to see. Rivalry weekend is always great. Right before we get into postseason play, again, these teams get their chance to ruin their in-state, a lot of the time, season. And it's great to watch, especially now that Georgia got that game out of the way Friday night. It was great to see the chaos on Saturday. But hey, Georgia, to wrap this up, Georgia, it was a hectic season, a crazy schedule. Went to Bama, went to Oxford, had Tennessee at home, had to take on a risky Georgia Tech football team in 8 overtimes. A a lot has happened. Had some people enter the portal, injuries, got people healthy, and look at where the Dogs are now. Right where we want to be, heading to Atlanta to take on Texas, a team we already beat in Austin by 2 touchdowns with Carson Beck throwing 3 interceptions. You cannot feel better to be a Georgia Bulldog right now. We lose a game. Now that is where we get into danger zone, because I think where Georgia can run into trouble is if we play a game, let's say at Penn State, in that raucous environment. We've seen Carson Beck, that's just his kryptonite. It's not good, not a good trait for a QB, and probably something NFL scouts are going to knock him on. But he has not played good on the road at all. He throws lots of interceptions on the road. So let's avoid that at all costs. Let's win in Atlanta. Let's get a bye. And let's set ourselves up for success. I don't see anybody with Ohio State losing who's touching Georgia on a neutral field. Let's go back and look at some stats for Georgia against teams on neutral fields. We don't lose. We simply don't lose. If it's not Alabama on the other sideline, we're not losing. Let's go back to Clemson earlier the year, 41-3. We haven't seen that Georgia team in a while. But guess what? We're heading to neutral fields again. And I don't know what it is. This Georgia team finds weird reasons to play their A game, but that neutral field is one of them. They can play fast on the turf. I don't know exactly what it is. That's part of it, I think, is they can play faster. But still, Dogs are in prime position, and we don't have to worry about Georgia playing down to the level of competition anymore, because we have something to chase for the rest of the season. Every game from here on out will mean something, and there will be no lack of motivation. So let's go handle business on Saturday. Send those Cowboys back home, make them go to Happy Valley on that week 1 game, and let's set ourselves up for success. Dogs, heck of a season. Good clap. 2 losses, hardest schedule in the country, but here we are. Quietly ranked 5 AP poll just came out, and we are right where we want to be. Dogs are going to take care of business in Atlanta, and we're going to remind the world. I mean, this college football season has been crazy. But I think as we get into the postseason, Georgia's going to bring back some calmness, some reality back to the football world. It's like, okay, we don't know who the best team is. Everyone's beating everybody. But, oh, wait. Georgia, they're still Georgia. They may slip up certain times throughout the year, but when it matters, when they play SEC championship, they get into the playoff, and Alabama's not on the other sideline, we're going to win the football game until someone proves me different. So that's that. Georgia, I'll be coming to you Tuesday this week, giving you a pregame with JT about the SEC championship. And then Thursday for my solo show, predicting how I think it's going to go down. Hint, hint, belt to ass, baby. But thanks for watching. Jack Mack, and we'll see you next week.